In 1884, Reverend John B. Griffith and his wife Mary moved to Klamath County from Texas. They helped organize Mount Zion Church in Poe Valley. This was the first church in Klamath County outside of downtown Linkville, which changed its name to Klamath Falls in 1893. A group from Mount Zion met for worship at the one-room schoolhouse in Olean, which became Lost River Gap Church. In 1900, this group moved to Klamath Falls, and by 1905, they secured a loan for $600 to erect a church building at 8th and Washington Streets. This became First Baptist Church, the oldest church in the Northwest Baptist Convention. In 2011, Suburban Heights Baptist Church, which had its start in the early 1960s, and First Baptist Church merged to form Baptist Church on Homedale.
I was searching God. My heart was broken. It was a time when things were not going well for me, and I was just begging God to give me direction for my church. And he just, one day I was just riding in the truck with Pastor Bill. We were heading to convention for the annual meeting, and it just hit me. What if we merge our churches together? And it was a God thing. It just, boom, came out of nowhere.
We just prayed together. And we prayed together for over a year about what God wanted us to do and how He wanted us to do it. That year at convention in October, we sat down with people who had gone through a merger together and talked to them about it, prayed with them about it, prayed with the leaders of the convention, decided this was what God wanted us to do.
And we started exploring the option. And at the time when we were merging together, you know what we wanted? A church that was a wonderful atmosphere and a culture and I don't know if we would use the term family, but it had this positive environment and culture that is so difficult to find in churches. They seem to be that way on the outside shell, but in the heart and in the soul of the church, so often there's something just missing or not there. And I've always wanted to be a part of a church that was on the outside exactly who they were on the inside. And that is what we have at BCH.
We then shifted our prayer time, and we met once a week and prayed together for sometimes an hour and a half. We spoke to a couple of people in the churches and got varying reactions from people. But we knew this is what God wanted us to do. And one of the best things we ever did was pray for each other during this time. God answered. God answered every day, took care of every question we had.
The last 10 years would not have been possible if it wasn't for the servants that God provided for us. I thank so many of you for the parts that you have played, and you are still involved. 10 years later, there are servants and leadership in this church that have nothing to do with staff that are still serving God, and they are still the backbone of our church.
I still pray for Paul every day because I know he's got a long ways to go to get us where we need to be. And he's still following God in the direction that we felt we had 10 years ago.
One of the most important things about a church is to have a vision for where it is that you are going. I have a vision for what God wants us to do and where God wants us to go. I am looking forward to the next year, to 5 years, to 10 years, to seeing what God is going to do in our church. Recently, we have spent a lot of time in the last few months planning for the next 1 to 3 years. What is God going to do? How many people will we lead to Jesus in the next few years? That is what we are excited about. That is what we're looking towards.